As someone who people look at as a furry, you would expect me to have a left-wing opinion. You expect me to pick teams. You would expect me to have an opinion that goes along with the rest of them. No. No. I said outright on this particular stream that I don't pick teams. I stand up for what's right, and I analyze things based on the situation presented to me. I do not, in any way, shape, or form, treat anybody as less than human unless, and there has to be an unless here. I'm not looking to lie to anybody. I'm not looking to mislead anyone. Unless what they do is inhuman. You can look at pedophiles. You can look at actual Nazis. You can look at people who take advantage of other people, who kill, who do negative sexual assault, people like that. Those are inhuman crimes, and I've said this several times on Twitch, several times over. On my show, I've said this. I've also said that there are only two. Anything outside those two, very not good. There are only two acceptable forms of racism. Comedy, because we need to laugh at something. And if you're laughing at something, you understand why it's funny. Or you're too stupid to understand why it's funny, and you're just laughing along with everybody else who's laughing. Hey guys, editing Steve Dave here. I forgot to mention the extra one. So there are two acceptable forms of racism. Comedy, which I already went over. You have to be able to laugh at something in order to understand it, or you're too stupid to understand it, so you're just laughing along with everyone. The second is explanation. You need to be able to explain in order for other cultures to understand why in this culture this particular thing is racist. That is an important thing that I forgot to add here, and that was said during the stream. Thank you. Another thing that was said was about the Nazi flag. Now that's rough. It's a hard topic. However, I was not saying that Nazis were allowed. I said that a Nazi flag, depending on why you have it, should be allowed or disallowed. If you have it because a member of your family fought in World War II and they happen to be on the Axis side, that would explain you having it. If it was in a movie and you worked on that movie, that would explain you having it. Maybe you want to collect the memento, of your time on the set filming a World War II flick. Maybe even you have it as a prop for an anti-Nazi video. There are exceptions to the rule. But if you are actually a Nazi celebrating what that flag stands for, you're a bad person. Not because anybody else says it, but because you celebrate what that flag means. This was directed at nobody. These are things that were said during my stream today. These are the factual things said. And if there was anything racist, I already went over the two things. Comedy and explanation. I would love an explanation. Because nobody was harassed. Nobody was targeted. Yes, it was an adult conversation we were having. I was targeting nobody. Now, I've made my opinions of people like Hassan Piker, for example, clear. Someone in my chat, I'm not going to name any names because I don't want you to go after them. Someone in my chat said that he was a fan of Hassan Piker. My reaction was, personally, I don't like him. But if that's your kind of content, by all means, you get to have that opinion. We all get to have our opinions. That's how it should operate. Twitch, You're not operating that way. Hassan has called for a lot of terrible things, and he's still on Twitch. And yet you'll get on me for having a serious conversation with a chat that did not feel ostracized in the slightest. I would like to know names. Now, I'm not going to get to. And that's where this part of the video will start and end quickly. This part of the video is calling for accountability. Not for the Twitch mods, but for the algorithm. Not for the people who go to the appeals, realize it's stupid, and fix it, but for those that enable groups of people to shut down voices. This is for you. I want accountability. Everybody who uses any online platform wants accountability. Will I get that accountability? No. Will I get a name or names so that I can ban them from my chat so that shit doesn't happen again? No. Will I be allowed to cut out the part of the VOD if I went back, heard it, and it didn't sit well with me either? But will I be able to go back and say, that wasn't really good? No, I won't. Because Twitch automatically pulled the VOD and have refused to give me what part of the VOD was so bad. And considering how regularly this shit keeps happening, I am not surprised if it is politically motivated. One thing that I think would be ironic is if I mention that those who celebrated Charlie Kirk's murder are allowed to have their jokes. They're in bad taste, but it reveals the kind of person they are, and they should be allowed to make those jokes. If that was against it, I want to know. Because nobody specific was targeted. I was not openly harassing anyone, nor was I encouraging the act. I said they should be allowed to make those jokes, but they are sick individuals, whoever they are. So every single thing that happened during that game stream was okay in the chat. So how did this happen? This is where we get to the facts, as far as I see them, and why I want accountability, especially for the names of people who lurked, people who raided in and it didn't give me an announcement of the raid, people who may have been talking that weren't actually on my side or weren't actually participating with the conversation in a mature way. This is where I would want those names. Because those people, you know who you are, and you're laughing at your screen right now like a child. You know who you are, and you know who caused this. Twitch largely doesn't give a shit. But if you get a whole bunch of people, sell them on a story, and they all do the same thing around the same time, that algorithm's going to kick in. You want to know the best part about all this? My show is called The Silenced Banter. And you silenced it. You proved everything that I do on this Twitch channel and on the archive channel on YouTube correct. I'm not allowed to have my opinion because it goes against you. And you don't like that. Now let's get into the facts of it. No more speculation from this point forward. I message my group on Discord and say, hey, I am feeling stiff from arthritis pain. I'm going to be a little late. Get up. Get a shower. Normal stuff. I get on, I have to adjust the game on the screen. I do that live so people can kind of see the editing side of things, the screen posing, the where am I going to put my PNG tuber, stuff like that. I start the game. As the game goes on, we're enjoying The Godfather. I don't know if it's a retelling of the movie, but I can say that it is based on the movie. We're enjoying our time. We're watching the cutscenes. We're having a good time. Then apparently we get a raid of some kind. And during that raid, I notice there was no announcement in the activity feed for that raid. Frickin' idiot convention. Yeah, okay, so there's plenty of alerts, but no raid. Until one person comes in with a party of one viewer. By that point, there was a lot of people. We're in the chat. We were talking about this topic that was brought up, politics. And I said, all right, I don't like the way that politicians act. I don't like the team sports it has become. I do not like the way that certain things happen when it comes down to the team sports that politics is. And we get into several. I wasn't following them? Okay, let me follow them. We get into several of adult examples that occur. We get into several examples that occur in adult life. The topics of racism, the Nazi flag, everything that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Shortly after they raid, I get a drink water redeem. I drink that water, and I was in the middle of explaining a story that happened in my childhood when my Twitch stream stops. And I look to the chat. Chat is currently unavailable on this channel. I realize I can't even chat in my own chat. Can't send a whisper. Can't make a announcement. And it says you have currently been suspended for 7 days. Keep in mind, we were talking about heavy topics, but according to Twitch's own TOS, if it's part of the topic of discussion, it's allowed. Someone in the chat brought it up, so I talked about it. We were even about to get into the point that the news shows you the kind of violence it wants you to show you, and none of the feel-good stories. That would have been the next direction. But I was unable to do that because I was suspended. So let's look at the suspension, shall we? Right down here, violations, hateful slurs or symbols. What hateful slurs or symbols? We were all talking respectively respectfully to each other. We were having disagreements, but they were peaceful. They were not violent in any way, shape, or form. 365-day expiration. This violation will expire from your account next year, today, on July 20th. Till then, I may receive escalated consequences if I commit another similar violation. What that basically tells me is if I offend the wrong person again, that person will get a group of people to spam ban reasons or the hateful slurs or symbols report and get me taken off Twitch. That's what that tells me. If I commit another similar violation. Okay, hold on to that. 7-day streaming suspension. Your account has been temporarily suspended from streaming. For the duration of the suspension, you will not have access to certain features related to streaming, such as going live, joining stream together sessions, creating stories, uploading VODs. Additionally, chat will not be available on your channel for the duration of your suspension. Not only that, I'm not allowed to chat anywhere. I am completely censored for 7 days for having a respectful adult conversation with my chat. VOD removal. The VOD associated with this violation has been removed. So I can't show you all anything. I can't show you all what got me suspended. I'm not allowed to know about this. Hang on. My co-host just... It might have been automated. You remember how a bunch of messages got hit by automod? I think maybe the rapid succession of allowing automated message may have triggered Twitch's robots. That's an option. I can see that. Because we did have several automod things go off, in which case I would like to have automod turned off. I've got moderators, they're human beings, and they can do the job. What's more, if I get the promotion at my job, I'm going to be making more money, and I would like to pay my own moderators. I don't need automod for that. I'd gladly pay them weekly. But the VOD associated has been removed. So I can't even show you all what happened. 7-day chatting suspension. Your account has been temporarily suspended from chatting. For the duration of the suspension, you will not have access to certain features related to chatting, such as sending chat messages, sending whispers, which are just person to person, cheering, so I'm not allowed to throw bits at fellow streamers and wish them well. Redeeming channel points for rewards. I can't even use the channel points that I am getting as a viewer. Clips removal. Clips associated with this violation have been removed. Most of those clips were not even of the violation. They were of funny things that happened during the stream. Things that me and my co-host at the time were happy to have. Happy to joke about. Funny that. Reason, hateful slurs or symbols. Using hateful slurs, hate symbols, or hate group emblems without context or in a harmful manner. We talked about the Nazi flag. There were context. Someone asked about it in my chat, and the context was not endorsing the Nazi flag. It was saying that there may be situations where the Nazi flag would be, and it would justify its existence in those situations. You can't have a World War II flick without the Nazi flag, unless it was a situation where it was just about the Allies. In which case, what do you mean a World War II flick without a Nazi flag? It's a World War II flick. You can't have my grandpa fought in World War II on the side of the Germans without the Nazi flag. You can't have, and these are all examples, by the way, these aren't reflective of me. You can't have, well, the actual meaning behind the swastika dates back to India without the Nazi flag. There is context, and it is not being displayed in a harmful manner. I said that the two forms of racism that I support, that I think are the only exceptions to the rule, are comedy, where if you laugh at something, you understand it, and you know why it's funny, and explanation, where you have to explain why this prejudice exists, why this thing is racist. There was context, because I was asked about it. A lot of the things I went through in the beginning, there was context for all of it. Even the guy that came in saying, I like Hassan. And I said, I don't like Hassan. If context doesn't count reading my chat, then Twitch alienates its own chat. And you might as well have a bunch of streamers that don't read chat. Insulting another person with a hateful slur on stream. Something Hassan Piker does all the time. Something countless Twitch viewers or Twitch streamers do all the time. They're not hit. Alright? Only difference, Hassan's not in my chat. I'm allowed to have an opinion on something. Or someone. But not once did I say that did I use a hateful slur to my knowledge. To my knowledge. I'm still thinking if I did. I said, as far as Piker's concerned, the person that came in my chat, I'm trying to remember, so I have my eyes closed at the moment. Person that came into my chat, I like Piker. You can like Piker. You can have that opinion. I don't agree with it. I don't like Piker. I think he's not great. I don't think he's great. I don't like him. But to each their own. In that line of talking of context, Piker is not the person. Piker is the subject matter we're talking about. If someone went, well, I don't like You Tell Him Steve Dave. You're more than welcome to like You Tell Him Steve Dave if you want. But I don't really like him. That's not me getting insulted. That's me being the subject matter of a discussion. Therefore, context exists. Posting an ASCII representation of a hate symbol in chat. No. Unless you were talking about the several Automod things that I allowed, because I'm allowed to have I allow people in my chat to talk and discuss, then yeah. Alright, maybe that ASCII representation was there. Because someone asked about the Nazi flag. We had that conversation. Okay, a hate symbol. Okay. But in context, which context is allowed, we were talking about the context of it. If that was the reason, then look at the context. It came up in discussion. I'm not allowed to have a conversation with my chat and enjoy the dialogue? I would like to know. Maybe mentioning it too much. Maybe the Automod getting hit too much. Fine. Give me a way to turn off Automod. Make your platform more open, Twitch. If this was it, I want a Twitch moderator to tell me themselves. Otherwise, this wasn't it. And let me be clear. If this was it, then you're not allowed to have context in your Twitch chats. The context will not save you. That is the precedent going forward, if that is it. Uploading profile content that contains hateful slurs, hate symbols, or hate group emblems. None whatsoever. None. Not at all. Let's read the hateful conduct section. Let's go down. Self-destructive behavior. Twitch does not allow content that glorifies, promotes, or encourages self-harm. We also prohibit activity that may endanger your life, lead to physical harm, or encourage others to engage physically in harmful behavior. None. Twitch does not allow content that depicts, glorifies, encourages, or supports terrorism or violent extremist actors or acts. You could argue that Hassan Piker is one of those violent extremist actors. But it was my opinion of him, not what he did. No, it was my opinion of him in an arbitrary sense rather than a very directed sense. Let's put it that way. Someone said they liked him. I said I didn't. Simple as. Adult sexual violence. Not tolerated. Good. I'm the guy on my show that says put a clipboard outside of the prison. Put the name of sexual offenders, pedos, and the like on that clipboard. Then someone can sign their name next to it. And if they bring their own ammo, give them a tax cut. This is a regular joke. This is a regular thing I say on my show every Saturday. So I refuse to believe that this was the issue. Because I don't tolerate sexual violence. Twitch prohibits any contact or activity that endangers youth. This includes contact that features or promotes sexual abuse material, sexual exploitation, misconduct, grooming of youth. None of it. Refer to my previous statement regarding adult sexual violence. Off-service conduct. Not the case. To my knowledge, not the case. And if it was, this shit shouldn't exist. Twitch, you are responsible for your service. Yours. Not anyone else's. You are not responsible for X. You are not responsible for Facebook. You are not responsible for YouTube. You are not responsible for Rumble. You are not responsible for Kick. I can keep going. I don't like this. For good reason. Because it allows Twitch to go over the borders and say, you're not allowed to stream on Twitch because you're a right-winger who supports Trump. Or you are a left-winger that something has been exposed and you are not a good person to us. So said Blue Sky. It can go both ways. It can be abused. This should not be allowed. Evidence for off-service reports. Because we have less context for behaviors that occur off Twitch, we require that evidence of these activities is verifiable before we take action. Okay. If this happened in this situation, I want to know from a Twitch moderator. Unauthorized sharing of private information. Twitch does not allow users to reveal personal information of others on our service. I revealed my own. There was one joke I said, I'm 33. Okay, I didn't reveal anybody else's. Period. Full stop. Civility and respect. Here it is. Hateful conduct. Twitch does not permit behavior that is motivated by hatred. Motivated by. That's the key. All right? Motivated by hatred, prejudice, or intolerance, including behavior that promotes or encourages discrimination, denigration, harassment, or violence based on the following protected characteristics. None of what I said was motivated by hatred, prejudice, or intolerance. In fact, it was encouraging tolerance. Encouraging people not to be prejudiced. And encouraging people to not hate and just act neutral, be friendly about it. I am willing to talk about these topics in a neutral way, not for or against. Race, ethnicity, color, caste, national origin, immigration status, religion, sex, gender, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, serious medical condition, and veteran status are all protected characteristics. These are things that anybody and their grandma can bitch about. Not one of these things, without hearing the context, which I can't show for you because the VOD is gone. Now, without context, these things are protected characteristics. Problem is, you need context to prove that any of this was motivated by hatred, prejudice, or intolerance. It was not. And it certainly was not behavior that promotes or encourages discrimination, denigration, or harassment or violence. I was not encouraging any of it. I was saying why it is wrong. Harassment. Engaging in harassment will result in enforcement action taken against the relevant accounts. Guess what? Nobody was. We were having an adult conversation. Sexual harassment. We prohibit. I do not need to go through this shit again. I don't need to go through this shit again. Civility and respect. FAQ. What's the line between hateful conduct and harassment? Harassment becomes hateful conduct when the behavior is targeted at individuals on the basis of protected characteristics. Guess what? None of it. As Twitch does not tolerate any abuse that is motivated by hatred, prejudice, or intolerance, the penalty for such behavior is more severe. Why is Hassan still on the platform? Why are a lot of streamers still on the platform? Because this happens. Instances of hateful conduct will always lead to enforcement action, even if the report is submitted by a third party that wasn't targeted by this behavior. So Twitch, I bring that one up because this could very well be a group of people who hate my guts for having an opinion. You are allowing it with zero proof, with zero useful proof that I can reflect and look at. You marked none of the VOD. As a matter of fact, you got rid of it immediately. If you want content creators to feel as though they are respected by your platform and safe on it, they need to be able to reflect on their own content. Am I required to communicate to another user that I feel harassed by their behavior in order for my report to be considered valid? No, you may decide some forms of harassment are severe enough to warrant reporting without first communicating to the other user that they are unwanted. They don't have to say shit in my chat. They could just come onto my chat. I say one thing that hurts their feelings, like pineapple belongs on pizza. And apparently, that's valid enough criticism to be considered harassment, to be considered hateful conduct. Naturally, nobody's going to be taken seriously as far as that's concerned. But it's interesting how easy it is for someone to report someone like that. Let's go back to the appeals portal. Where did the violation occur? Live. Where the violation occurred? Live. Content related to this violation may be removed. It is removed. I'm not allowed to show it. Yet Twitch is allowed to use it against me. That is not representation. Please note that Twitch may use both human review and automated tools to make enforcement decisions. I hope they do. And I hope everybody in my chat, and I hope everybody who is with my chat, who is part of my chat that day, this day, today, speaks up and says everybody was part of the conversation. Nobody felt ostracized, harassed, or hated against. We were having a responsible adult conversation. Period. I did not attack anyone. Twitch, I'm surprised that things like this that happen hasn't earned you a few lawsuits, honestly, if I'm being blunt. I'm surprised that moderation like this hasn't shown a defamation of character lawsuit at all. Because this is not the kind of person I am. I don't use hateful slurs or symbols against people in my chat. If you are willing to act as an adult, I will respect you as one. If you are willing to act as a child, I will treat you like one. I will respond to the energy you are giving to me in kind. And as far as I was aware, for that entire conversation, none of it was disrespectful to anyone in particular. This is an abuse of power situation. This is an abuse of the reporting system on Twitch. Please share this video out. I am sick and tired of being sick and tired of people who think they can dictate the kind of content that someone should make. I didn't once say that Hassan shouldn't be allowed to be on Twitch. I just mentioned that he said some things that go against your TOS, Twitch, and nothing's happened. One should not be punished in any way, shape, or form for listing an observation or for engaging critically with who is watching them. If this was an automod situation, hey, that's fine. That's fine. Fix your automod. That's not on me. Or let me turn it off. And if I don't know how to turn it off, tell me how. As far as I'm aware, there's no way to turn it off. If I am responsible for my own chat and responsible for speaking like an adult, then I will do so. What I am not responsible for is the suspension. What I am not responsible for is the way people analyze the way I speak. What I am not responsible for is anyone who will have thought, wow, he's offensive. He should not have a Twitch channel. But you are Twitch. You're responsible if that is what happened here. I can only hope that this suspension gets lifted. I can only hope that I'm able to return to streaming swiftly. But I am prepared for the worst. I will leave Twitch. And I'll hate it. Oh God, I'll hate it. I will absolutely hate leaving Twitch. Because I want this platform to be the platform that I stream on. But if Twitch isn't going to help me, I'll find someone who will. I'll find a platform that will. And I'll have to regrow my following all again. So thank you all so much for watching. Hopefully we'll have a silence banter on Saturday, but if this stays up, then we won't. Congratulations. The banter was silenced. And if this is the automod, your faulty algorithm is to blame. If this was a bunch of people, intolerance is to blame. Not me. So please, Twitch, do the right thing. Reinstate me and wipe this suspension off my record. I've already appealed, and the appeal is pending. Your move, Twitch. I pray that you do the right thing. Please. because I love your platform, but I hate the hypocrisy. And I'm not the only one with that opinion. So please, do the right thing.